At number 7 is Black Christmas. Now, this movie is a remake. If you've seen the older ones and all that stuff, it is a remake. It isn't a continuation or anything else, and it's a bold remake, and I'm gonna get into that. So, it's about a sorority house that starts to get picked off by mass individuals, in which they discover a sinister plot in which they have to stop before everyone in the sorority house dies, and it leads on to future generations. So, yeah. I don't know if I explained that well, but that's basically the gist of it. The beginning, I always say, a lot of times movies, the beginning scene, the beginning sequence always sets the tone for the rest of the film. And this movie is no exception. Like, the beginning sets the tone for the rest of the film, and just goes downhill from there. Like, it did not grab me from the first sequence. Like, after that, I'm just like, I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. And I wasn't disappointed in that aspect. Like, I just knew what to expect, and I got what I expected. It does take a bold turn in how it's presented in its reveal, and I can give it some credit. But the execution was not good, and they probably should have done something different. Now, this movie does have a social messaging or whatever, and honestly, I didn't care for it. And that's not to say that I didn't like it. It's like I honestly didn't care to really absorb what they were saying or trying to dish out, because it wasn't that type of movie that have that type of messaging in it. It's like I go to a horror film to see a horror film. That's what I want to expect. Whether it's a good or bad horror film, I expect horror, not a social messaging about women empowerment and stuff like that. Not saying that it can't, like, I don't like it in my movies or I don't like it, period. I'm all for women empowerment. It's just, this wasn't the movie to do it, because you have, I don't know, it just wasn't done right, you know. And it's saying that, it didn't bother me, but mainly for the reason that I stated before. It wasn't no room for it in this movie. They should have just made a straight, blatantly, just horror film and just went on with that. If you're gonna shit in the toilet, don't try to sprinkle it with like sprinkles from that you would put on ice cream to make it better. Like, no, it's just shit in the toilet. But at the end of the day, it is honestly a teen horror film, which, if you've heard my views on movies like that, it's just really a horror film cheaply made just to get a lot of money from, because you got teens that's going to see movies like this because they're so easily scared, and just they don't really expect too much from movies like this. And it's just something with cheap scares, cliche horror tropes, and not really too much creativity in the story and characters, and also just how it's written. And like I said, as far as the scares, it doesn't try. It's just the cliche scares and jump scares that you expect from a movie like this, and it's just not done well. It's like predictable. Like, you just know when something is about to happen, so you can brace yourself and prepare for it. And it just doesn't have the effect that I think that they wanted to have with it. And the fight at the end was just totally and utterly ridiculous. Just nuts, bonkers, and not in a good way. It was just in a bad way. It just kind of shift from what it was to this, and it was like, oh, are you serious? Really? But yeah, like, this movie was not a really good movie. It was not at all. And from what I found out was that this movie, not only was it cheaply made, but it didn't take that long to shoot. It took within 6 months to go from pre to production to post, all within the span of within 6 months. And that's just that's not quick enough to do a movie unless you're doing a really, really low budget movie. And I don't know, but even then, pre-production is still kind of a ways, and it's just, they rushed this out, and you can tell. This movie is a complete miss. And it just, if you want to see Black Christmas movie, more than likely you'll enjoy the other two that came before it, because those is more than likely more enjoyable than this shit.